Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is my new Coleman mini bike. We're going to be upgrading the tires today. We're going from the stock 19-inch V-treads to a 20-inch Kenda Scorpion. These aren't overly aggressive, but they're more aggressive than the ones that are on there right now. I want to show you another modification I made real quick. After I did the 14cc head with the 18-pound springs and the full throttle, I had a surging issue from the governor. The original spring position was the second hole out from the engine block. I'm now in the fourth hole. That took away all of the surging so far. I haven't got it full throttle yet, at least not under a load. I'm going to prop this up on my cooler and I'll pull the front wheel and the rear wheel. That includes a chain too. I do believe that is the easiest to remove set of wheels that I've ever had on a mini bike. In the front, you have two of the same spacers, so as long as they're on there, it's pretty hard to screw that up. In the rear, they help you out by incorporating the spacers on one side into the brake caliper bracket, so you can't put those in the wrong place. And they just have this one silver one over on the sprocket side. That's beautiful. These brake rotors and the sprocket, not the easiest thing to get off. Not difficult by means of method, but there's some pretty hefty flanges on these, and they seemed like they were torqued rather tight. A little blue Loctite in that situation too. Same thing on the front. So make sure you use the right size wrenches so you don't strip things out. I'm sure there's a few different ways to get air out of the tires. I'm using this nifty little valve installation tool. You can install them and obviously be used to remove the valve. You just stick it in, it catches, and you twist it. Probably going to blow the valve right out. There we go. This just keeps getting better and better. With all the air out, I just pushed in on the side and I popped the beads on these V-treads. That's usually the aggravating part when you're trying to take them off. The old crock stomp. Yeah, buddy. That's butter. Have to get some soap and water and something to pry them off with. Here's how I work my tires off. I'm a bit of an anti-tool when it comes to this. I should really get the spoons to do it, but hey, this worked in the past. It's going to work again. It's working right now. This is a pry bar of sorts. It's got a flat end, and it's got this other tapered side. It's sort of blunt, it's not a complete point. Anyways, I stick that under the bead and I pull it over the lip on the rim. I then work next to it with this other little pry bar, a little bit at a time. The key is not trying to take too much, so I'm not going to try to get under the bead over here and pry up. I'm going to try right next to where I already have it over the lip. I'll keep working it around. Eventually we get to a point where the tire will just pull off. It's like when you're just over halfway around, or around the halfway point. See what I mean, kid? As soon as I got to that sweet spot, the tire just pushed itself right off the rim. Now, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to stick this end of the pry bar up under the bead and over the lip so that I can push the tire that way. With the bar wedged in between, I'm now pressing down on the tire until the rim pops out. It took me less than 10 minutes to get both of those V-treads off these rims. I have my new tires sitting in front of the heat. For what it's worth, they're a little bit deformed from shipping, but they are becoming quite malleable, so that's a good thing. I have some warm water with some dish soap. I'm going to use this to clean the rims and to lubricate the beads when we're putting the tires back on. The Kenda Scorpions can go either direction, it doesn't matter. I just have soap and water on the side that I'm going to try to press the rim into. I'll get as much of it pushed in by hand as I can, and then I'll probably have to grab the bar to pull the remainder up over the lip. That'll have it halfway on. At that point, I'll get back to you and we'll work the rest. I didn't have to use the bar at all. I was able to press the entire rim in past the bead of the tire. Now, we're going to flip it over and I'm going to work the other side. I'll push the tire down with my knee or my palm, whatever is necessary, and then I'll work the edges on with my little pry bar. Now that I'm about 2/3 on the rim, I apply some soapy water to the bead. That'll help it slide over that lip on the edge as I pry it. I'm working a little bit on this side, then back to that side. When you get close enough, it should just bloop, flop right on. This should be my last pry here. Ta-da! So that took a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, maybe 10 pries. I still got to inflate it, but that tire is on that rim. I just used my little tool to put my valves back into my stems. Next, I'm going to need a ratchet strap and an air compressor. The ratchet strap goes around the center of the outside circumference of the tire. You then tighten it. Put the valve in there. Just tightening it alone we are squeezing whatever air pressure is in there. That air pressure pushes outward on the side walls in the bead. We want to get that to seal. I'll get this almost as tight as I can. It's not going to be anything crazy. And then I'll start applying some air with the compressor. See it inflating? Alright, I don't want to go too much. Now I'm going to release the ratchet strap. Alright, that pops. That comes off. I'm going to give the tire a little bit more air. I'm not going to go completely solid, but I'll get it pretty close. Now I'm going to hit it right on the knobbies with my big heavy mallet here. I'll spin it around as I'm doing it, and that will help to further set that bead. My beads are set, and my tires are still inflated hard. I'll let some pressure out after I get them mounted back on the mini bike. Right now, I'm going after my bearings. I used my razor to gently remove the seal. I'm now packing them up with some red number 2 grease. I'm going to be using a little bit of this blue thread lock gel on my hardware when I install my sprocket and my rotors. Check this out. Somebody was really thinking ahead on this thing. You can't even put the sprocket on the wrong side of the rear wheel if you wanted to. Here is both of the rotors. Front and back. They're exactly the same. You try to line those holes up with the holes that are in the flange. It's not going to happen. Take the sprocket. Wham bam bla jam. You get good money. So the rotor has to go on the other side. Once the rotor is at home on its flange, it can only go one way too. What I mean by that is you can't install it with both faces out. Only one face has that little recessed portion for the machined bolt that holds it on there. The reason they do that is so that it holds the rotor completely centered on the hub when it's tightened down. I'm putting the wheels and tires back on the bike, starting with the front. Take a look at the gap between the fender and the tire. We can see how much I'm compressing the suspension on an average cycle. This fender gets closer to that tire when that shock compresses. We'll be alright there. I had to move the axle and wheel assembly all the way forward so that I had enough slack to connect my master link on the chain. Once that was hooked up, I worked on my tensioners, pulled everything back, and then tightened my axle bolt. Alright, let's try these things out. Let a little bit of air out of the tires. Not much, just enough so I can squeeze them a little bit. There you can see. Oh. See how the
no surging. Couple laps. Tires way better. Somehow those little knobbies make traction though. we definitely made an improvement in the traction and looks department today. We gained a little bit of ground clearance, and we stabilized the overall ride of this mini bike. Sometimes it's the simplest modifications that make the biggest difference. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.
I want you to stay, I want you to stay.